also invited the city of Arlington to attend this workshop. We're going to be talking about economic development projects and priorities, things that we're working on, things that are going. And so we'll call the work session to order. I've been asked by Judge Farrar to chair the meeting. She's, I believe, on the phone with us, so she is present also. So we'll call it to order and we'll go around the room and we'll do introductions with the folks that are up here at the table with the various different entities. Jed?
I'm Jed Crowley, I'm the Executive Director of the Port of Arlington.
I'm Kip Krebs, I'm the Port of Arlington Commissioner.
Captain Ryder, Port of Arlington Commissioner, City Manager of the City of Condon.
Ron Wilson, Port of Arlington.
Leah Shannon, President of Port of Arlington.
Fran Reese, Young County Commissioner Assistant.
Leah Watkins, County Commissioner.
Shannon, County Commissioner.
Denise Ball, Arlington City Council President.
Jeff Buckins, Arlington Mayor.
Right, thank you. And Ms. Liz on there somewhere? Okay. So first we'll go into public comment, and this is for individuals wishing to address the governing bodies, and you may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise their hand to be recognized by the chair and give your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. So do we have any public comment? All right, hearing none, we will move on. Housing projects update. 3.1 on the agenda is the land trust discussion. Liz, is this something that you're going to speak about?
Is Liz on?
She's supposed to be on.
I mean, if she's not on there, let's skip it and come back to it, because she's, that's her.
Liz is just getting her computer situated. She'll be there in a second.
Oh, there she is.
Guys, sorry about that.
There we are.
Here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Noise.
What's that?
Are you on mute, Liz?
I think I'm off,
We
hopefully.
need to join audio here. Miranda. We need to join audio on here.
No, because that will, she should be coming out of the speaker.
Technical difficulties. This is unbelievable.
Given what?
Didn't hit when it first came on. Is it pause? Because it's new projects.
No.
There's on top as well. Should say who knew.
There we go.
Hello.
I just did it.
Are you on now, Liz?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
No, still can't hear me.
Okay.
No, I still can't hear you.
Is my computer what?
Let me.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? Can you guys hear me now? Nope.
Online, do you wanna?
No, I don't think your owl's on.
I'll see you later. Bye.
You guys hear me now?
Yes.
Be
So-
something with my own mic. So I am not obviously Delaney, but borrow hers. So on the community land trust, I don't have a huge update other than I am still reaching out to other community land trusts in the state of Oregon to get a better sense of how they operate and whether this is a feasible model for us. But for those who are sort of unfamiliar, I can kind of walk you through what a community land trust is, for at least from my understanding. It's not, I will just say, like, it's not the answer to all of our housing needs, but it could be a piece, at least on the affordability issue. So the idea with a community land trust is basically there's a nonprofit, the land trust is a nonprofit organization that either is gifted or purchases land for housing development. They basically build homes on that land that they have acquired. And then when they sell the houses, they actually retain ownership of the land that the homes are sitting on. So they're just actually selling the homes themselves and maintaining long-term 99-year leases with land with the homeowners. And then in those agreements, there's also stipulations on resale so that homeowners that are coming in, obviously getting a deal, acquiring homes that are much less expensive because the land value isn't in there. They also can, in a lot of models, are subsidized with public low-income housing dollars. That when they go to resell, it allows them to build equity, but also limits how much more they can sell it for when they turn around and sell it, so that it maintains its affordability as it moves from owner to owner. So the idea potentially would be that we look collectively at standing up our own community land trust, which would be a nonprofit, and that this would be just one piece of multiple pieces. So I know there's been some concerns or discussions about making sure that our folks who are working on Main Street, others have homes, and where what I'm seeing with the community land trust, where it's being used in Central Oregon, I think there's one in Walla Walla area, that the focus is really on that sort of market, as well as sort of entry-level professionals. So your new teachers that are coming in, people who are earlier in their careers, maybe purchasing their first home, that side. So in terms of next steps, I mean, one of the things that I think maybe as a possible next step is just to see if there are a couple of us that are interested in exploring this idea more, maybe just forming a little work group that could come back to these meetings and just kind of report on what we're learning, and see if it might be a viable option for our communities. So that's all I've got on that piece.
Have any questions for?
Would this just include homes, or would it include businesses?
So it depends. Some of the community land trusts have a larger charter where they also have gone into commercial real estate as well. I have not really explored that side of community land trust. I've been mostly looking at on the housing development side. That seems to also be where most of the existing community land trust models that I've seen are focused primarily on affordable housing. And this idea originally actually comes out of Vermont, has a long-standing, decades-long community land trust. And so there are more and more sort of popping up, particularly in housing markets that you would expect that they're seeing hospital staff and teachers being priced out. So it doesn't surprise me that Walla Walla is starting one. Obviously, Central Oregon has one, Portland. It would not surprise me if Hood River, well, actually, there is one starting in Hood River County as well. I'm not sure if they've had any developments yet. So, but for some of our needs in addressing affordability, this might be a good model, even though we're not in that kind of a marketplace quite yet.
Yeah, my name's Lee Dawkins with Mountain Valley Land Company. There is a project in Boardman that's a co-op. And the people own their homes, but then they own a percentage of the property that the home sits on. And that it really parallels what she's talking about here. It's Costa led the way on that, and that's the company that you'll see throughout Oregon. It serves the people really quite well. It is a unique way. It was a park that was, you rented the space and you had your home, and then they converted it to this. And it was 128 units in Boardman. So if you wanted to take a look or talk to that, there is people working for the Boardman right now. Nancy, that was part of that development with them, and that would be a good sounding board. But the park is full. I guess I call it a park, but it is a co-op, and they have a vote. They choose who the manager is, and what the price they have to pay per month to leave their home there.
All right, thank you.
What type of homes are there legally?
Mostly manufactured homes.
Not mobile homes, but manufactured.
Manufactured. Paved streets, curbs, gutters, city sewer, the whole thing.
Thank you. Liz, you were talking about this when you first started, about this land that could potentially be gifted or purchased. Is this something that Waste Management's offer for land might fit into?
Potentially, if we can get the zoning right on the waste management land, then yeah, it could be gifted to a nonprofit and then to a community land trust, and then that you would develop on there. The thing that one of the things I like about that particular model is we keep stumbling into this whole, if we build it, who's going to manage it? When we talk about affordability, we've almost always thought about it in context of rentals. And the nice thing about something like this is the homeowner is actually going to be the owner of the home. It's the underlying land that stays with the nonprofit. And so all of these questions that we're grappling with about who would manage the property, those would not be an issue with this kind of a setup.
Do you see an existing nonprofit taking ownership of this, or is this something that a new nonprofit would be formed to manage?
So my approach has been that it would likely need to be a new nonprofit. I suspect, I mean, we have two, obviously there are two potential nonprofits that are sitting in the room, the Ports and PCDC, and I can see Rob right in front of you, Steve. But I'm thinking for the specificity of the charter that would have to happen for a community land trust, that it would likely need to be a separate entity that is just focused on community land trusts, not on other housing development, is what I'm seeing so far in how other people have approached it.
And just to get it out there, there's also potential for Columbia Manor to be a nonprofit that could do stuff in this space.
Yes.
What about the trailer park? I know it's privately owned, but we actually have a houseless problem there. I'm talking about the Arlington lower part.
Sure.
Those trailers continue to deteriorate as they change hands.
I think that is something that the city has approached a couple times.
We have, and we've also approached it with the county a few years back, but of course, they had the price so inflated that it wasn't worth the property that it was sitting on. So it just became status quo going forward from then on, so. I'm not saying they're not approachable now, it's something to certainly look at, because we've always envisioned a different aspect and outlook for that whole area, so.
Might be something we might be something we want to take a look at again. There's some conversation.
Yes, sir.
What are the logistics that the person who is the homeowner defaults on their land payment, their rent payment, and let's say it's a site-built house? What are the logistics and how is that managed with that person
Under this land trust.
under the land trust concept?
Question, I mean, to be clear, like, from what I've seen, at least in the lease agreements, that the lease amounts themselves are pretty nominal. They're not necessarily how you might think of like a trailer park where you're paying several hundred. I think most of because of course, the whole purpose of the community land trust is to address an affordability issue. And so from what I've seen, and this would be a good question to ask the land trust that we're reaching out to, if they have examples of how they've handled it. But from what I've seen, those lease payments are around $30 a month. So not necessarily, if you're talking about teachers being able to live there, things like that, probably out of the realm of them being able to pay. But this would all be stuff that we need to talk to some of the other community land trusts who've been at this a little bit longer on how they actually manage that.
So Judge, I have a question. Is this federally funded, state funded, or has it become a local funding?
So I think it could be a combination. So it's the community land trust that I've reached out to, and those who are familiar with them, a lot of times they are dealing with federal and state HUD funding and other things. I don't think that necessarily has to be the pathway that we go with this, because obviously the county has local resources that it could put toward it. And the other thing about that I like about this particular model is worth exploring is that once you make that initial investment, then those funds start revolving. So because you've got people who are actually buying homes then.
Lost you.
I'm muted. Oh no. So the land trust then, say the county made an initial investment to fund, say, 5 units. Those 5 units get sold. The proceeds from those go back to the community land trust to build the next set. So I'm thinking it's just the initial seed funding to get it going. And based on sort of county resources, obviously this would be a decision for the whole court to make in funding it, but I think there are sufficient resources locally to probably get a pretty good start on something like this.
Question, you may know about this from Boardman, but I'm curious about the willingness of lenders to lend on a home that doesn't own the property.
There's lenders that they focus on. So there's monies available, and from all government monies too. Just like any other home. Yeah.
So probably some 99-year lease that would help with that, would there be some help in the structure of a 99-year lease that would help with that?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be super beneficial, yeah.
Yeah, there.
Any questions? Don't see any other raised hands. All right. So we will move on to 3.2, which is the former grade school project.
leave that up to Jed.
Okay. I just want to thank everyone for being here. I think it's important that we work together and have good communication with projects we have. The former Common Grade School is 100 years old now, right? And a year ago, it's been a full year, Catherine and I met with State Brownfield Program Director, just to lay out a pattern that would help resolve the environmental remediation work that probably needs to happen for the grade school, including some asbestos concerns and some lead paint concerns. Since then, well, let me back up just a bit. For history, the school district deeded that property to the city of Condon. Before the Port of Arlington Environmental Sentry Corps took ownership of that, we performed a phase 1 environmental study. Main reason for that is to qualify for brownfield program funding. And so some of these steps seem to take a long time, but they're coming to fruition. We are now working with Mel Foster and Alonji. We just approved 2 work orders for them to fill in some of the data gaps that are needed as you apply for a brownfield grant. And we also, very important for this group, we have an upcoming public meeting on Thursday, November 2nd. Remind me the time?
Yeah, 5:30.
5:30 at the Memorial Hall in Condon. When we request funding from outside funding sources, whether that's state level or federal level, it's really key to have that community buy-in, that support, interest in seeing the property be repurposed into a productive use. And so that's available either in person or by Zoom. And I encourage all of you to log in or attend that meeting. That will send a good message of the interest in seeing that structure repurposed and revitalized. So we have solid support from Gillum County for the project. We've got an award from the county of $481,000 to redevelop that property. What we're hoping to do is reserve that funding for redevelopment while we're chasing state and federal grants for the remediation portion that comes first. So we need to solve that, hopefully get reimbursed with grant awards to do the environmental remediation, and then work on the redevelopment with county support. In addition, Avangrid Renewables contributed $461,000, I think it is, as again with a focus on workforce development. And you kind of begin to see how the different entities can work together, including businesses, of how to address some of the housing shortages. Whether that's, the port has a nonprofit arm, the Environmental Sentry Corps, that can tap into some of these funding sources that even the port can't, or the city of Condon couldn't do that. But how all these entities working together can try and make a difference for Condon Grade School and make it into one of the housing solutions. It's still probably early in the process. there's been a lot of legwork that City of Condon did with reviewing some structural analysis of how to utilize those classrooms, create a apartment space in some of those classrooms. You know, there's advantages of a commercial kitchen setup in that facility. We don't know yet. It could be some type of a mixed use that would maybe help with childcare and help with workforce housing, apartment spaces. Combination, there's local residents that like to use the play shed to play pickleball. I mean, there's a variety of uses and a lot of square footage there that could be utilized effectively if we can work together and try and determine what's best for the future there. Maybe I'll stop there with that overview and welcome any questions you might have about the grade school.
Is the port going to maintain ownership of that through the development or even post-development?
First off, it's Century Corps, Port of Arlington Century Corps, Century Corps that owns the property, not Port.
Right, that's the environmental cleanup.
So that's the nonprofit entity.
Yes.
I think our vision, to my understanding, and directors can correct me if I'm wrong, but our intent isn't to take charge and dominate the process from start to finish. If there's entities that are more adept at creating that transition to housing, whether it's builders, you know, city planning that might be involved with making that site most usable. It's appropriate for us to trust those subject matter experts rather than us owning it forever and not having a pathway to be successful. So I guess to answer your question, it's pretty much undetermined at this stage, but I sure want to rely on other entities that would help achieve the goal of that transition. And, you know, if that means partnering with housing developers, or if there are programs with PCDC that could help sync our efforts, we're open to those ideas.
So when this is completed, do you anticipate having like a property manager manage it, or is the port's nonprofit going to manage it, or who's gonna hold the deed and take care of it? Couple of questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
I think I already know the answer. Yeah, the Port of Arlington nonprofit Environmental Century Corps doesn't intend to be the property manager. We would have to sub that task out to a property management firm. As far as deed ownership, whether some of the discussion Liz just presented about land trust, whether that's you know, that involves negotiating how those rentals happen, and whether the deed follows with long-term leases or whatever. That's kind of to be determined. I mean, our number one task right now is that environmental work, the remediation that goes with that, and trying to qualify for those massive loans on the order of the older data from a couple years ago now was about $500,000 to abate the environmental contamination. So we'll check that box maybe first before we we predetermine how we're gonna tackle ownership or property management.
I think I should add too, the city of Condon is still assisting the court with some of the projects such as, since we're in Condon. So setting up the meetings, we're helping do that just because we want to see it either developed or down the road. So, and I think there's an agreement to have a discussion once it's abated. Part of it is what does the community want to see happen to it, which would involve the city in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right. So an update on the Appley Ridge project, and I think Jed, you're up for this one too.
Miranda, can I ask you? I think there's an attachment that's in the packet. Of a tentative plan, for Ridge subdivision. Well, while that's coming up, the port submitted a pre-application to the city to be able to divide that property up into smaller parcels. When we purchased from Proctor's, that site's 39 acres, has one house and shop in the center of the parcel, basically. It wasn't especially marketable for just a home buyer, because they couldn't just go buy a home and 40 acres to go with it. The port purchased that property with the intent to help sync with the county's emphasis on workforce housing. As far as planning goes, our first intent would be to create a separate tax lot for that home and shop and sell that property. The way we've got it drawn up, it's about 2.5 acres for the Proctor home and shop. Try and sell that, recoup some of the investment we made in land to be able to then work on infrastructure that would, create water, sewer, and streets to access some of these lots. So a lot of people have asked me, well, what kind of houses are you gonna put up there? What's your price point gonna be? Again, this one's a little too early to know all that yet. First, we need to comply with the city's zoning and planning processes. Just to do a partition plat, we would need to develop a complete application, come before the planning commission, assure suitability for neighboring uses. If that might include appropriate transition and buffering of the existing houses that are up there nearby. We followed pretty closely as well the city's process on zoning, especially for the Columbia View Estates right next to this property. So I guess this is somewhat conceptual at this point in time. We've had some letters back and forth with the city planner. We've got a few discrepancies we need to resolve. And we'll be meeting to try and make certain that we follow the city standards for roadways, for lot layout, minimum lot sizes, those type of things. You may be aware also the frontage entry into our 89-acre site right now just has a private easement that John and Mary Salee granted to Proctor's to access that home. That easement is valid for accessing the home, and we intend to continue to use that. However, to access a 39-acre future subdivision, we need to acquire more width. A 60-foot right-of-way width. That would ultimately be built to city street standards and dedicated to the city as part of this subdivision proposal. So that's one of the steps we're working on as well. That would provide access to the site. Maybe I'll stand up here. As I mentioned, we need to have appropriate transition and buffering to adjoining use. With Columbia View right here, a roadway proceeding from the cemetery, connecting with Columbia View Drive would add a secondary access for those people in Columbia View Estates that, you know, wintertime, they have one entry and exit on a pretty steep grade to get up there. And so we think some of those design ideas could be mutually beneficial for the residents that are there. The other thing that is a logical place to put that roadway is where the city water line already is. And, you know, putting that roadway right over the waterway is a logical layout for a city's design. That helps mesh with the water system plan and, you know, phased growth of town on up the hill. For the back half of that acreage, we don't have real specific plans yet. Our focus was primarily to, number one, sell the house and shop. And number two, to work on almost a 4-acre site here for housing. That, again, I don't know whether that would involve townhomes, what that might involve. It would have to go through city planning processes, likely to be submitted as a planned unit development, where we could have a little more flexibility with layout and positioning of those structures that would go there. And again, with buffering and transition to single-family homes nearby. I think I'll stop about there and ask for any questions you have about that property.
Anybody? This is really a work in progress. Fine.
Has it been addressed, as your access is coming up through via the cemetery? Have you addressed the road going past the grade school into that area for the increased traffic flow?
Not yet. That might be part of our, you know, the questioning on our subdivision submittal. In most cases, a development is responsible, obviously, for the on-site improvements. And if that yields a traffic count that would add extra burden on passage right by the school, might involve some more consideration of improvements we might have to make there as well.
As long as it's on the checkoff list.
Are you talking about Main Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typically, you know, I don't have to improve the city park, be able to develop 39-acre parcel half a mile away. So it needs to be proportionate to the impact of the growth that we would bring. One of the key things we need to assure is fire truck access or maintaining our weeds, right? Because that's gonna be important as protection for all of town. So offsite improvements are part of a subdivision review. But proportional impact and responsibility is weighed in that as well.
Thank you.
Anything else?
You need a helicopter, Joe? or-
Yes, that would be really, I've been asking my budget committee and worked for that for many, many years and they have not given me one yet.
Don't look for Joe.
No, the city thinks this is a plus, especially with the secondary access now going into Columbia View Estates, because that's been problematic since the city brought that into its realm with the single point access. So we're really encouraged about this aspect of it. It's gonna be a good fit for both Columbia View and Alkaline. So I think this is a good plan.
And we've been working very close with the city, with Brad there, looking at this, looking at the city's resources with water and that type of thing. So we're looking at those aspects of it also to make sure that we have resources.
And isn't the school going to be developing, is it the parcel next to your 4-acre parcel?
We're putting 2 houses right in here.
Oh, right below that, okay.
There's quite a lot of development going on.
And this was an idea spawned last January, so really we've come a long ways in 10 months.
Yeah, we purchased the property, submitted for annexation, the city went through their process, streamlined process to annex us in. And it's not fast enough for everybody, but it's moving. It's moving. And, you know, we can't sell the Proctor home and shop until we get its own tax lot. And that's a big goal because we need some of that resources back that we've invested to be able to go and build some streets. We anticipate good county support as we work on infrastructure, but it's a little early as far as our joint meeting of figuring out precisely what would be needed. And, you know, distance of roadways and how we're gonna ask for support. It can grow in phases as well. We can work on that lower loop first. And, you know, save extensions off of there for a later phase. It's a flatter area down there on the bottom that is a little more conducive to the building than up on the slope as well.
There is some initiative from the governor to push workforce housing as their next stage of housing development too. And they're looking at some different incentive programs out there to get developers involved and probably some help with infrastructure. So that'll all hit the short session this spring. She's pushing real hard on that. So hopefully there'll be some other funding available that we don't have today.
Yeah, it's it's one thing to get started and draw a map that looks like you got your lots all ready, but you don't. You've got to put in all that infrastructure before you can go build it.
But they're doing it all around us, so we need to do it. Where place you go, it's happening.
We're on it.
Any other discussion or any other comments or questions? Anybody? No? All right, thank you, Jed. Other current or potential development projects. Does the city have anything that they would like to talk about?
Well, we have a few irons in the fire right now. The best kept secret in the state of Oregon is that we're selling industrial land. I can't get too deep into that. But in anticipation of that, the city did purchase the old motel, Arlington Motel here last year. And we're looking at demoing that, but right now we're going through the environmental phase for the asbestos. And we're working with a company in Pendleton, and we're doing some identification, our remediation plan will be. And then we'll go into the demo phase, and we're anticipating we're gonna need transient workforce housing based on what may take place in the industrial zone. So, in the interim, we're looking at an expansive, trailer type park. A lot of these construction works, they're self-contained, self-mobile, live in their trailers while they're on a project and move on. So we're looking at that as probably phase one and then after that, that'll be for a couple of years at a minimum, these projects. And then after that, we'll look at some more of a permanent development, what we can do down there along, things contend with like the railroad tracks and whatnot. So we're limited on a lot of things we'd like to do, but there's a lot of things we'll be able to do with that property. There's about 2.5 acres there, so it's a good expanse of land that we've got to work with. So we'll start trying to figure out which direction we're gonna go after we get through the construction phases that are gonna take place. One of the other exciting things with our Main Street, we don't have much of Main Street, everybody knows, we have kind of a triangle type setup. We did a couple town walk arounds last winter and last spring, trying to re-envision what we want to do with the downtown area. And one that came out was a what do you call it, sprinkler park? Splash park, yeah.
Sprinkler park.
Yeah, sprinklers. Anyway, we're working with an architect firm down in Portland. You've got some really good conceptual ideas. And everybody's pretty focused on that. And that's one of the things we want to get set up, because we know we're using that in the summer months and even in the winter, because there'll be tables and stuff set up, where people can stop and take a break, rest area. And it'll bring people into the downtown area. And that's kind of our challenge, is trying to get the folks into the core area, because we have a beautiful park. Everybody stops, says how beautiful it is. Then they get back in their car and they hit the road. They don't really come into town. So we're hoping that's gonna, kind of boost the aspects of our town. We can start showcasing and get some more development going. Because after that, then we're gonna look at the property behind the post office. That's a good commercial lot, and figure out where we want to go there with either office type rooms on the bottom and second story apartments for the folks that don't want houses or anything. They just want an apartment to live in. So we're looking at those aspects also. We got some good stuff in the works. A lot of movement going on. Good progressive council, and we're pretty excited about the direction we're going.
Thanks for Jeff. Gary?
Just one comment I would have is the two properties on the west bank, I guess they call them, that are pretty much been non-use for.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's students how they're owned and people that aren't interested in developing. Is there any way to spur development of those properties?
Where are you talking about?
The Texaco and
Rachel's property.
when you first come into town. I know, Pat Lee are looking at least the one building on the south side, the Texaco building. There's been discussions with the owners and, I would like to be able to purchase it so we can develop it, but we want to see if they're even interested in selling. I'm not sure how motivated they are right now.
It'll take negotiation.
Yeah, so.
They're not motivated to sell. And yet, I think that they understand we'd like to do something with Arlington.
Yeah, it's not only nice of her, but it's just land that could be.
They have had some interest
It's
in.
terrible. I mean, the first thing you see when you come into town is that he's a dead property and, it's all dark, and we really would like to figure out some way to move forward with that,
Could it be deemed an attractive nuisance?
That's for more discussions.
Yeah.
So,
Where else do you
Sometimes
guys
that's a
park
good
and catch me?
motivator.
Where else do you guys gonna park and catch me?
Kayla.
Not hard to guess if you park.
No, you guys are
No,
parked.
that's where we park and catch her when she's being.
Well, the eyes and
Yeah, but she's like the worst.
If that building's in, Mark's located and get something to happen with that at some point, and I think they would sell it. And it could be parcel off too, to do something else with it, but, you know, it's a nice sort of in the town.
Seems like if there's a clause in there, then it would become a gas station. Yeah. I think that's always been.
That's been the issue.
Yeah, that's been the issue with competition.
We're working on trying to redevelop the town and get some stuff going here. You know, the resources have always been a challenge and we're not flowing in cash, so. But things seem to be turning around for the future and, we're on a good path.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mayor Buffin, I might have missed this, but did you say where the splash pad's gonna be?
It's gonna be in the park between the bank and the backside of the grocery stores, that little park area down in there.
Cool.
That's where we're gonna
Post
put it.
office.
Yeah, so it's kind of centrally located in town.
Maybe, I say maybe you could, in the winter, maybe you could repurpose it as an ice skating rink.
You probably could.
Did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to let folks know that if you didn't read in the paper, the Pioneer has purchased 2 lots in the Condon ball field, the last 2 that were remaining there. The new head of the Frontier 911, Jessica, what's her last name? Lynch has come to us and said, hey, you know, we are really shorthanded based on federal guidelines as far as the number of people that they need in there. And one of the biggest issues is where are they gonna live if they come to town, and they're using a lot of contractors. So these folks are coming in for shorter periods of time. So our idea, working with her and the board of, her board of Frontier, is to build a duplex on each one of those lots and hopefully do a master lease with Frontier 911. And if they don't need both of them, possibly the school system. Great location right in the middle of town. Everything's already there, and we're gonna get moving on it as quickly as we can. We've got 2 really nice plans, I think, that'll help both areas. We've got a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and then the other one will be 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Will be a little bit more affordable, possibly for a single person that doesn't want a roommate, but has the ability to have one. So we're just trying to, you know, fill in that area. All the lots have been sold. Streets are paved around it. It's really starting to come on. So we're looking forward to that. And we're actually using Pioneer's own dollars to get these things built. And we think it's a better use, you know, for our money. We do still have the Gillum County Attainable Housing Fund, which has built 8 houses in the county and created 14 new rentals just in Condon by rehabbing existing homes and offering grants for folks to get that done. We've also demolished quite a few houses as well, and would love to demolish a whole bunch more to create some building lots for folks. But we're excited to get those duplexes up and going and try to help 911 as much as we can.
Any questions on that? All right, thank you. Also, Catherine, isn't there something going on in the city of Condon with renovation of upstairs above buildings?
We've got a couple projects going on. And so one is we're continuing to work on our fairway housing, which is the 9 acres north of the golf course. And matter of fact, Jed and I and Kayla just met with a representative of Hayden Homes that is interested in developing in rural areas. And so we got some information on that. The other one is, I'm glad Rob mentioned the baseball field. We started that in 2018, 6 lots, all 6 have sold. There are 2 houses on 2 of the lots. Pioneer CBC bought the other 2, and another developer that has plans, though I haven't heard from them in a couple months, are gonna put triplexes on the other 2 lots. The upstairs of Main Street buildings is a project by the Oregon Frontier Chamber of Commerce, Oregon Main Street in Gillum County at this point, which I'm sure the city of Condon will start getting interested in, but it's money in our code, if you're in a commercial district, technically you're supposed to live, technically nothing, it's the rules. You're supposed to live upstairs in the buildings, and so there's 4 buildings in downtown, our historic district, that have lovely upstairs. All of them need work, 2 of them need a lot of work. So they're starting out with M&A, about M&A, and Bart Danielson's building that's on the corner of, right across from Two Boys, so it's on Main and Summit. And they got a $250,000 grant from Main Street, and so they're gonna start working with an architect in the M&A building, and they're actually, I believe, gonna start construction because Art's gone a long ways to get his ready to go. I'm not quite sure when that is starting, but that's good news. Yes, yes. And then last week I was at the League of Oregon Cities and got connected with Hayden Homes, which we just met with, and also with HUD has some money for upstairs Main Street housing projects, which I have not reached back out to them. And also they talked about, which all of us in Gillum County are under the Umatilla Housing Authority.
Yeah.
And not very many of us ever hear from Umatilla Housing, so I need to get in touch with the HUD representative, the U.S. Housing Urban Development
Yeah, because
Department.
we don't even have one HUD house in Gillum County.
I wasn't sure if we had, I thought they said they had vouchers for somewhere down
And they
here.
do have some vouchers, they might be used at the estates or at the retirement.
I just heard from Capco that they didn't have it.
Okay.
Through the
So-
They did tell me that they do have some vouchers that are used in Young County, I'm not sure where they're at.
So I guess one of the things that the city of Arlington and anyone else that's interested, we need to get a hold of our HUD representative out of Portland and let me know. Maybe we can connect a call with the city in April and people that we. get
I'd
that.
just like to know where I can send people, but I mean, that it's actually somebody's gonna take their money.
Supposedly they have someone new, and I said, well, that doesn't account for the last 19 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, I think this is something that collectively we've kind of thrown around too, because there's all these different projects going on, and the question keeps coming up, who's gonna manage the property? Who's gonna manage the property? So I think there's been some discussion about property management groups and creating our own housing authority. So there's a lot of discussions going on out there about those things also. Because we are under Umatilla, and it seems like we maybe need a bigger focus with what we're doing.
And what I was told last week by HUD is there's money, and there's a lot of money to Umatilla Housing and Gillum and Wheeler too, need to get a hold of that.
All right. Anybody else? Any comments you can add? Okay, capital projects update. We've got a couple of projects that we're looking at. One is the Arlington Sheriff's Office building.
Miranda, could you put maybe slide 1, sheriff's building up there, please? So I met with Sheriff Betancourt a long time ago. He's one of those visitation persons that.
are we talking about the same guy?
You don't know him very well.
He's one of those patient persons that wanted it to happen real soon.
Yeah.
But the report went ahead and did we had Vernon Gray do a design, and we've got blueprints that are posted on the meeting notice. What we had available that worked best for a north present for the sheriff's department was land between this building, Gronquist building, and the Waco building. There are two parcels here. The Gronquist building is its own parcel. And then the next parcel north is one big parcel. So we kind of probably would model after the Waco arrangement where the port built the Waco building and then we take lease payments, correct?
We retain the property, so they pay us to have their building on our property.
And those payments go towards payment of whatever we have to pay back on building the property.
So we would probably structure a similar arrangement for the sheriff's building. The port did go ahead and invest in these blueprints. Somewhere around $10,000 for the blueprint. Just my initial contact with Sheriff Bencourt was, at some point in time now, we'll need to have good assurance from county court as well that would mesh with a financing plan to build the structure. We would have some, further engineering work and city permits, things that would need to happen. But the real blessing of this structure is by having that initial work with the sheriff's office, Gary was able to give input of how he wanted the specific room's position within that. I don't know if you want to go ahead and slide to maybe sheet 2, probably have that one. Probably another one. That sounds pretty good. That just has a layout where there's a garage bay for parking vehicles. There's an entry bay for bringing in both the public in the front entry and others in the back, I guess, workers. And so I guess now with this joint meeting is where we kind of make that known. And if there's opportunity to collaborate on state grants, maybe through law enforcement, or maybe we use a county match that would help us compete more effectively to build the building. We would, as I mentioned, we would need some more engineering and some cost estimates that go with it. But now we have a basis to start from of what would work well. To my understanding, the sheriff's office needs more space than what they have right now up here in a presence on the north end. And that's why they have asked us to look into a built-to-suit facility.
Questions, comments?
Randy, you can go ahead and roll through some of the other views. If there's one that folks want to dial in on a little more, we can focus some more. And I think probably let Sheriff Bencourt address this a little bit too of how you see the process going forward and how this matches your long-term plan.
Yeah, we have ran out of room here on the north end, and I mean, this is where our most activity is. We maintain about 5 deputies up here, but if you throw in our reserve now that does our BLM contracting, there's sometimes 6. And then Lieutenant Flory needs to really be up here more, but there's not space for him where we are. Because we really need a supervisor up here more often, and we don't have that availability. So it just makes it harder for us. I mean, we're getting along. We've been in there for whatever state police left. But we've got 4 workstations there. And the garage that the city did build for us is a 2-bay. It's cramped, but we make it work. This, when I had the opportunity to, what do you want? Of course, everything that we could need or want, and based around everybody's safety to do the work we do is in that building. So that's I guess what works the very best for us. Just looking at our current job, but really it comes down to the county court decision on whether they want to pursue this and obviously the court. So
would this become like the main office then for the Gillum County Sheriff Department? Because this is where all the
no,
activity
the
is.
sheriff's office will stay at the courthouse because that's where the circuit court is, and we're responsible for court security. But most of our activity and the majority of our staff is up here on the north.
Okay.
So, and then two, as far as fingerprinting and concealed handgun licensing, parole and probation, agencies coming in like OSP to, need the spot to dock their computers, stuff like that, that would just accommodate all of those things too. We could set up fingerprinting up here where Chris has most everybody come to Condon. It'd just be a little more convenient for the public, but not a whole lot more, but it would be cool. So, no,
Well,
this would
this-
still be considered a satellite office basically, but the larger of the two.
Will this include a holding cell or anything of that type on a
No, well,
secure area?
no, not really, Jeff, because if you get into that kind of stuff, you start getting into all kinds of liability and insurance.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and the thing is, if we have somebody that, we can just go to the Dallas and hold them there.
We made this so that I could potentially come down here at least a day a month and potentially do renewables and new concealed handgun licenses. And a big push, and I hate to say this, is if that measure 114, which we all don't, like that number right now, with the large amount of fingerprinting and stuff like that that has to be done, could be done down here. And again, with the things that are happening, the guys have to do a lot of fingerprinting. So we really, really would want to bring in a fingerprinting machine down here. And was really, really hoping to be able to have enough room that we could have an office down here. Right now, there's no way that I could do any fingerprinting down here in this office right now and process somebody for a concealed handgun license down here. But we're really hoping that we can get something like this done and have enough room and be able to make some office hours and have office hours down here at least once a month, if not more, depending on how many people I have. And then people don't have to come see me in Condon.
That would be a wonderful service
Yes,
for up here,
it would.
especially in the winter months.
Yes.
Another aspect that this building provides for us is the courts through legislatures kicked back to us to do a lot more work within the community to not put people in jail.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of essentially booking and releasing on-site rather than taking them all the way to Northport and lodging in Northport. And with the building that we're in, there's not really a safe way or safe place to do that. We make it safe as best we can, but it's not built for that. It was really built as an office outpost for Oregon State Police, and had been that for decades prior to the sheriff's office moving into it. And the concept in this building includes a lot of those safety provisions for the guys to be able to safely bring in a person. The third bay in that garage layout is essentially, the concept is for it to be a sally port. We can bring that prisoner into the sheriff's office, have them secured in that location, be able to process them through do the booking and the fingerprinting and that sort of thing that we would normally do, and then effect that release from the sheriff's office. With a pending court date rather than being, the requirement to book them in Norfolk and do all of those things there.
And they're just released right into town,
We try to release them back to where we took them.
like on the freeway or
So,
wherever it is.
exactly, if we were to take somebody on the freeway for a driving offense, not DUI. But a driving offense, say reckless driving or something like that, and then we do a citation and release that person, we can try to return them to their vehicle, so. There's nothing stopping them from driving, they're not intoxicated, they're not a specific danger to the community at that point.
The other thing we
Or
try to
somebody
do
has
is
to
if
get-
family or somebody's coming to pick them up, we try to go meet them outside. So like it was or somewhere else rather than have them congregate here.
Yeah, it's not a good plan to just to curb somebody in a situation like that. It's not good for them, it's not good for the community, so we want to make sure that we're keeping all of that in mind, of course. And then like with those DUIs, again, DUIs aren't something that's lodged necessarily. It's not a lodgeable offense, so if we can find a sober third party that we can release that person to, then we release that person to that sober third party. And in absence of that, then they can be lodged, but, that's an hour trip each way to the Dalles that takes our guy out of the county. So if we can avoid that, we do that.
Thank you.
I think this kind of reflects a little bit on our earlier meeting today with talking about growth down here and maybe the need for additional law enforcement in the area. And this would help facilitate that also.
Yeah, we looked at some of the sports properties up by the airport. And there was one that could have been retrofitted to work, but we're out of the center of the community and we really need to be accessible.
Yeah.
Down here, but where we're at, the public really doesn't have access to us because it's all open and there's no separation. So we have issues with that, even like the person who cleans the office. It's like, hey, if there's somebody in here, you can't clean, things like that. So, but, I have been listening to the housing proposals and everything going on. And I mean, that is, and I know that more than likely you've considered it, but it does put an additional strain on your first responder resources, not just lawyers, but fire, ambulance, and all of this dispatch, all of that stuff. So,
Hey, Gary, I've been real involved in where legislation's heading with ballot measure 110 and fixes for it. And I really think that it's highly likely that decriminalization will become recriminalization. How does that affect us here in Dune County?
I think it's a great thing because it puts,
But does that mean more
consequences.
Or I mean,
no, I mean, they don't want people in jail anymore. I mean, there's a whole set of criteria to lodge somebody and it's not drug possession. It's not DUI. It's
well, we're not there
speed
yet
up. It's not.
because there's a whole lot of county support for
Yes,
re-implementing a stick.
but
A
not,
stick is law.
not jailing.
No, no.
It's basically adding consequences and making people to go do that treatment.
Yeah, I think there's both sides of that conversation going on.
We'll never get back to. We'll gain on it, but I don't think we'll ever get back to where if you got to go to jail. I don't think you'll ever see that.
Not for simple.
Depends on whether they want to clean it up or not.
Well, just
know that.
holding a thumb on them to get them the help that they don't understand they need is really, I think, the biggest issue. All jail ever did was just drive somebody out for a couple days. Yeah, which was helpful, but.
Well, I've had some experience in the DOC side, and there's a lot of recovery that comes out of DOC.
Yeah, but they're there long term.
They all have to want it.
There is that.
Any other conversation around the potential sheriff's department?
Jen?
I was gonna say, Jed, I wondered if you could walk through a little bit more on, I mean, you briefly touched on the funding. How does this, so one, I'll just put in full disclosure, like I want to give the sheriffs everything that they need. Gary and I've talked about this, but I also want to make sure that the way that we go about the project does not mean that the county basically pays to build it and then pays to lease it. So I want to make sure that I'm clear, at least on that, on my intention, that if the intention is the county's going to pay to build the building, then I would want to talk to you guys about what the land lease actually looks like, because I don't want to pay for the building twice. That's part of my concern. I just want to kind of get clear on like where you guys are coming from on that piece. And then figuring out collectively where there might be pots of money potentially to make it work.
Yeah, that sounds great. Like I mentioned, we would probably use the model that we did for Watco. And, that would be, it would make so you're not paying for it twice. But the port would need resources to go construct that build to suit as well. So probably some kind of blend where some of the upfront costs to construct the building would be needed, whether through, a county match plus chasing some state law enforcement grants or business Oregon type grants, and then structure a lease where you would pay an appropriate amount going forward, long-term plan. As far as the specifics of that, I think those can be worked out. What we need to get to at this point in time is just, I think we haven't been able to bring up that discussion pretty much until now with, a quorum of county officials to weigh in on how they see that moving forward successfully. And as I mentioned, the port went ahead and invested in design, anticipating good collaboration and support from the county. I don't see any signals other than that. And it would just be a matter of working out those lease details and those construction details that would be amenable for both parties.
Great. And one other question, I think you might have mentioned this. Is it on the same parcel as the Watco building? Are these separate parcels?
It's on the same parcel as Watco, yes.
Chris, did you have a question?
Just what the total projected cost would be.
We've got the design, but we haven't shopped it out to a builder to know the cost.
Yeah.
And the engineer didn't give you a approximate.
No, it was just construction plans that lay out all the items you would need, but we haven't got a bid on it yet. We wanted, to make sure we're working together with the county before it proceeds too much further.
Mm-hmm. Is there funding through the sheriff on the law enforcement side? Are there grants, things like that?
I don't know. I think to qualify, you'd have to be more in the line of some kind of a program, preventative criminal activity. I don't know about buildings.
And maybe we can do that.
Well, I mean, we can research it. I know they're building, they built a few jails, completely different facility, but
yeah,
I can find out.
I think it would be good to do some research just to see
what's out there.
what's possibly out there.
Because it sounds like we're gonna have to kind of collaborate.
It's hard to get from the county. I mean, looking at today, the county builds a project and then the county pays the lease. monthly lease on the building they just built. It's hard to get around that concept.
You know, and it might be we need to plat a space separate from Waco, so it has its own lot. And work out maybe you wanted to build a building and own it. Usually the ports properties are more of a, you know, a desire to impact development long term and not just sell out land. But in this case, where it's a county facility, that might be the most viable option is cut that lot, so you've got a dedicated county-owned parcel that builds your building and we'll sell you these plans for.
That's what I'm wondering if, I mean, I don't know how I'm just trying to think of how a port could go after a law enforcement grant and own the building that, I don't know, I would have to wrap my brain around that whole.
It's kind of a tricky one, but
It
it
is.
sounds like that we may be able to access some grants and some funding, maybe through the state, maybe through Business Oregon,
Yeah,
and come up with some money to be able to do this where we could just lease it back, or like Jed said, maybe it's a purchase. I think there's a couple avenues. Sounds like we need to have some more collaborative meetings to discuss how we move forward on this. It does appear to be quite a bit of interest in it, so I think we need to come back to it for sure. Do some more research, look at what we can find.
I think to put in perspective is the rent on the Waco building, since it's all public information, we're talking $500 a month, not for the rent.
And say, it's not the building they're renting, it's the land.
Exactly.
They own their
It's like the
building.
land trust that you guys. were
Yeah,
just
they
talking
own
about.
their building, we own the land. And then in the contract, we have the option if they ever want to sell their building.
That doesn't change the fact the county would have to own the building.
No, I'm just saying that if they're not paying an outrageous lease on their property, on the property that their building is sitting on. But
so they paid to have that, I mean, they built it, or they bought their building then, when they, okay.
Okay.
because all of our stuff, they reimburse, there's lots of their stuff, I mean, I'm newer, I don't know the whole detail of it,
Yeah.
but they reimburse the port.
Yeah.
For building it, and then they just pay for the land, they don't pay for the building.
Thanks, Gail, that adds a lot of context to
Yeah.
the discussion, appreciate that.
Any other discussion on this? All right, the next item is the Marina Walkway project.
Is the Waco building on the long term lease? And that's
Yeah.
Seems like Jed gets to do all the talking today.
I need water. So there's a segment of the Marina walking path that's in disrepair. We did request a county grant and were awarded a county grant to do this paving work. We've kind of struck out on getting somebody to come in and do asphalt paving. Perhaps the project isn't large enough to justify a mold and demold for such a small project. There's about 720 feet, 720 feet of a path that, you want to go ahead and go to the next one, please, Miranda. That's just where it goes, right from the bottom of the stairs on the east, past the port office to the boat launch is what we'd like to improve. Most recently, at our port meeting last Thursday, just explained this challenge with getting a contractor in. And we kind of resolved to probably have to wait till spring and make it happen then. However, since then, I followed up again with Charlie Burdick, and he has chased down contractors as well to try and, trying to make this happen ASAP. And done a good job of outreach to try and find someone. Ultimately, one of the options could be to go ahead and do it in concrete sidewalks. And that would very likely cost more. And if that's the case, I think, we would plan to come back to the county and ask for some more funding that would help get that project in concrete rather than asphalt. Either way, we share a responsibility to improve town, the facilities. People use that walking path pretty regularly. We want to avoid trip hazards and just set a welcoming tone for people out there and downtown. And for the port to do our part to make that happen. I think the other factor to think about is just longevity of a concrete sidewalk versus a asphalt. It's kind of busted up after several years, so we'll see which pathway we need to go. But once we get a bid, then I'll contact our port board and see if we would like to consider that concrete option.
Any questions on that?
So, is there any possibility that the county with their resources, when they're up here repairing roads and redoing roads, instead of funding a project like this, present it to the port as an in-kind project?
I think the problem is,
provide-
I have to get a little more specific on how our paper works and width, and to get our paper to do a narrow pathway is probably problematic.
It could be unless you lease one or something. I'm just trying to throw that out there instead of an overall funding, maybe as an in-kind project to the port.
We kind of discussed that and asked Henry about that too, because but it came down to the size of the paver. My suggestion also was, well, go lease one, go rent one, get one. So
Is it part of it concrete now around there? There wasn't a part of concrete, or is that a higher?
Up higher.
Higher.
There was something that used to be there,
Yeah.
but
Big opportunity.
yeah, it's pretty scrambled.
That's pretty, you're gonna have to tear that out.
Especially going up to 6.
So we can bring that back to the table for further discussions, but once we get a bid on that. So, any other questions on that?
Want to add a dog park fence while you're down there working?
Okay, let's move to 5.0, which is other partner project priorities and a roundtable discussion. Does anybody have anything that they would like to bring to the table to discuss? Other than what we've already gone through today? Any ideas, comments, thoughts? I mean, it seems like the goal really is, we're really focusing on housing, on making our community more livable, providing some more amenities. Everybody's working pretty collectively with that, with a pretty good goal. I know it feels slow. I'm the worst person in the world for patience. And so I find it very, very gruelingly slow to be able to get something done. I feel like we should be building houses and we're not there yet. Though we are making progress, actually pretty quickly with the Proctor project. It's going faster than we got. And that was with help from the city with their annexation and how quickly that happened and working through it with them. So there's a lot going on in the community right now on both ends of the county. It's all really progressive, a lot of forward thinking going on right now.
So just a little follow-up, and I'm sitting here thinking about the trigger court. What would be the next step to find out what a price would be on?
Approach the manager or the.
I mean, would that be from the city?
Yeah, the city could actually start that conversation again.
Just to have that conversation again, to find out where we're at is.
I know we talked to them once a few years ago, the port talked to them once a few years ago, I think the county may have also, but the price was so way out of reasonable means for anybody.
It's kind of, I did have a question that's kind of tied into that. The roundup in Condon, the old Oddfellows home, is kind of in a similar situation. Where the owner of that building wants at least probably 4 times of what it's worth. I heard $400 and some thousand. She told someone recently. Just kind of interested in the discussion we're having here today too, that, and I don't know the specifics of the RV park, but are some of the things that are potentially being worked on here around environmental remediation and potentially even acquiring land to be in a land trust? Are these things that could impact some of these areas that have been kind of a problem for both cities for a pretty long time? I mean, do you see this being like a model that could be scaled for a place like the RV park, or for the Oddfellows home and for the roundup in Condon?
It's possible, but the other side of that, and what we found out earlier on when we were looking at, trying to purchase the RV park, you just can't go in and buy a place like that and say, hey, tell everybody you got 30 days to leave. It doesn't, it's about a 2-year process to relocate folks. There's a lot of steps you have to go through, so it's more of a long-term thing. But the first part of the conversation is, are you up to, selling your property and or, to a private entity, or maybe this land outfit,
Who owns that property?
Darren Jones.
That's the sheriff's department.
But another little thing with the RV park here, or trailer park, I guess it's not an RV park, but they are on stipulation now they can't build any more spaces right now because they do not have fire hydrants close enough to the end of their lot for any more spaces. So they're gonna have to put in money for infrastructure on fire hydrants in there in order to even put any more spots. So that
Does that mean they can't fill any more of what's?
they can, in this existing spots, but they can't, where they, here on the south end, where they're building more spots, they can't build anymore.
Do they have enough for the people there now?
Actually, since they were already built, by the time, went up there with the state fire marshal and all that, we measured it out, and they were just past the limit on how many, and I can't remember exactly how many feet away from a hydrant it's supposed to be, but they're already just past it.
How many people live up there? Sorry.
Are there 40 units?
I don't know, because there's been some taken out. And I'm not-
I think there's 40 hookups, so in a population of 400 and some people, you can do the percentage of how many people in this town live there.
Yeah.
And just, there's no pending cases right now, so I can discuss this, but I have boxes and boxes of evictions out of that trailer park. And what the scenario is they own the trailer, it's their homeowner, but they don't own the land. Space rent is $475. They're buying a trailer for $300 and $400. They're thrilled to be a homeowner, but winter comes around and their heat goes out because these trailers deteriorate because there's a constant revolving door. And to me, as a person who's dealt with this for the last 20 years, actually, if you're going to triage housing in Arlington, it's right there. And you could go walk up there. If you walk through that, I would encourage everyone to take a walk through that and see how you feel about. And it's not,
Or just volunteer to do the county transportation and take groceries in there like I did last week.
And so I just have concerns about what we're allowing for these people who are coming here. And they're houseless. I said it before, they're houseless. They really are. Some of them aren't any better than a tent. And so that's my 2 cents, is being the person who has to deal with the people have to be kicked out of their homes on December 15th and Christmas is coming because they didn't pay their rent and their space. I think we can do better there with the resources this county has for those people.
How does that work? Because they own,
It's on the space.
it's real property.
Yeah.
They either have
They
to
have
move
to
their
pay-
home off.
have to move
Yes,
it
yeah,
or
right.
It's
vacate
the same
it.
thing, this is the same thing as a land trust.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So they just give them the,
They just walk away,
yeah.
and then there's a new person.
So I think those trailers are considered personal property in there.
I think they are.
Yes,
If you
I don't know.
own the land under it. it's
Yeah,
personal
and
property.
they're mobile homes, so I think they're, unless you de-title them and attach them to the property, they're personal property, that's how they're taxed.
But I think Chris is right, they move a family in there, they have to move out because they haven't paid it, and then they sell the house again, and I mean, that there are units up there that have probably been sold multiple times.
Yeah, because nobody is on the right title. Nobody's just
sure they're
retitled
probably
anything.
No, and they're not even switching the tax, I
Yeah.
mean, they've moved them from the valley to here and don't even
Yeah.
bother to.
But the thing is, it's an economic thing too. The people that live there look at how cheap it is. to And then that's why they're coming, is because you buy a home
Until
for,
they can't be there.
and I've heard as low as $1.
Yeah.
They switch it from person to
There's
person.
been dollar deals on them.
Yeah, yeah, but their expense, so their rent in somewhere else is, $500 to $1,000 a month. Over here, it's who said
It was $475 last time.
$475. I mean, that's the
That's
trap.
a trap.
Huh?
So,
So the trap is obvious.
Yeah.
but what do we do? I mean, that is a question, because like Jeff said, eviction is a very, very long process.
Then where are
And
they-
everybody in the country is dealing with homelessness. Does that create a homeless issue here? Because now we've taken away,
It's a houseless issue.
we've taken away what they did have by evicting them out of there. Where are they gonna go? Are they gonna be here under the bridge, or are they I think it's kind of a double-sided sword. We need to do something. We truly do. But are we gonna create a different problem?
Well, I don't think we know how many people are actually living in a
I don't
tent
think we do.
over there.
I mean, code enforcement would shut every one of those trailers.
Oh,
Public health.
absolutely. Yeah.
I tried some.
They've all been through and each one says, well, I can't go inside the home. That's this department. And then the other department says, well, I have no control over that, like the fire marshal, he only has a certain amount of control, safety issues. So we've been through it for the past
And we've
20 years.
responded to them, and try to get patient out, you can't get the gurney up there, within some of them and whatnot. It becomes a hazard, sometimes you fall through the porches, everything else. Gone, responded to fires in there where, actual wiring that is burned up is replaced with speaker wire. That ran through the walls. We've had, just like that, it's a bad issue, but that's what I feel somewhat about land trusts. You don't own the land underneath it, you don't care that much.
Well, not Miranda. Anybody talk to that landowner? It's easy to work with, is he just?
I've talked to him many times on this, water line hydrant, whatnot, and that's gone on for years.
And the latest issue, the defunct fire hydrants in there. They're standing in place, but.
I don't know if he's ever even been here.
Oh, yeah, he has. He used to come down and meet with Peter at Port. And Peter wanted the county to help this guy out that he was running the port. And I mean, he got taken when he bought it from the original guy that started hauling all those used mobile homes in the middle of the night. And none of them were approved, permitted, zoned, planned.
It was Cascade Investment first, and that was, what's his name? Oh, yes, that guy.
Yeah, let's talk to Jamie about that. It's a nightmare. It was a nightmare when I worked at the title company. But I don't know what you do. Those people, because some of them,
They don't want to live in that.
Oh,
They
yeah.
either have it or don't have it. Some of us.
It's a lot like drug addicts, they don't mind where they live. They don't want a house. We're good.
So it sounds like maybe this is something that we also need to have a little bit more discussion on to see if we can figure out some sort of an avenue, because it's kind of a twofold problem. Maybe we get the trailer court so we can do something different with it, but then have we created a different problem? And how do we work through that? So it sounds like it's gonna take quite a bit of conversation.
I was telling the Health and Human Services meeting the other day about it, and they just said they shook their head and disbelief.
I know that some of them haven't had and power and their sewer. Yeah, I mean, it's really pretty deplorable.
We've contacted the state several times on different issues, sewage issues, all kinds of things, and they just stand back and they wave their hand and say, nah, we're not going there. They don't want anything to do with it. This is a place that these folks, a lot of them get sent here, and
Yeah.
they know that.
Yeah.
And it's out of sight, out of mind, is what it basically is. So.
Well, I mean, how about, working on that deal, each time one of them becomes vacant, that, you could, they send somebody in to, say that it's uninhabitable and condemn it, and, therefore it can't be sold and can't be, lived in.
And with your fire marshal assessment of it too, that they already don't have enough water service in there for fires. You maybe could work through that, but how do we know when somebody, I mean, to April's point, how many people even live in there?
So we have a dangerous building, and you better pad your legal bill. If you're gonna start doing that, you better get a good lawyer, and you better have a lot of money to pay that lawyer.
Yeah.
Because one man's castle is another man's.
Well, I know a few
And
years
I mean,
ago,
I know it's an issue. I'm almost wondering, what if the city created another village and house these people in nice houses? I mean, yeah, would you still have this? I don't know. I don't know what you do. but-
well, one of the ideas a couple years ago was to buy the trailers from the people, give them enough money to leave. And then we pull those trailers out and get rid of them.
Because they hold the
Because-
title. The owner of the trailer holds the
Yeah.
title, so they have control
Yeah, but
to
you can buy
sell
a
it
trailer.
to someone else.
Buy the trailer from that person.
those trailers that are owned by the guy.
Yeah, not very nice.
Not- yeah, I don't think
Some,
very
I
many,
mean, a
'cause-
lot of them are.
But he would have to move something in that was habitable, right? And he would have to,
So I guess are there codes in place that anything
Well-
moved in there, like today or next week?
We
Yeah.
put some new codes in
Have better
place the past
control.
couple of years to help curb that because of the midnight trailer drops. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, it's a challenge.
Where did that come
It is.
Some of the people are what you would call the working poor.
Yes.
They have a job, but
Yeah.
they're scraping by, they probably have back child support and all kinds of debt collection and everything else. They're just happy they can put a roof over their head, their
Yeah.
family's head. Now, they might benefit if there was some type of affordable housing you could get them into, because they want that, they're just so very. But the majority of people, including homeless people, you can build them the nicest apartments, you could set up a tent city with, insulated tents or whatever. They don't want to live there because there are hours they have to be in and out. People check on what they're doing.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is drugs or sleeping it off. They don't want any type of rules or regulations that they have to.
that's, so
Those are why we have continuing homeless problems.
Pendleton has, what they call the Promise Inn right now, and Capco, runs that. And so I've sent people there before, and they have to be in it, they're in at 6 o'clock at night, they have to be out by 6 o'clock in the morning. And there really isn't very many rules besides that, but a lot of people won't stay because that's too big of a rule. And so, but just to be able to have HUD housing someplace in our county would be huge. Because I can name 5 people right now, 5 families right now that I've talked to within the last couple of weeks that would be more than happy to be able to move into something that was affordable. They've wanted to get out of there for years and have not been able to get out. So, but I'm thinking if we could buy those trailers, then you can move them out. He has to put something nicer in there because of city ordinance. I mean, that might be a way to do it.
And kind of what I'm hearing too is before we could start that project, we really need to focus on affordable housing, which might be a set of apartments that would be a place where they could be rehoused. And I don't know how that works, and I don't know if it would turn into the same kind of community because you're just relocating the people that are in there.
That's what I worry about when these discussions are going on is, you know, the quality of life for our community.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're fortunate in Arlington that it is located in one portion in the city.
And are we just
People are
gonna
live the way
relocate that?
People live, and you have no control over that.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna, you know, get rid of their derelict cars. You know, they're not gonna put their stroller inside when they.
We talk a lot about homelessness.
It's so sad. It used to be
There's
a
a lot of
nice
people that don't want homes. There's a lot of people that own homes that don't want to rent them to certain people. Because they'll just destroy it.
Yes.
So
and then
I
you
know
think
there's a
about-
need, but I worry about what that quality is.
That's what my concern is too. Are we just relocating the problem? I think there's probably some families that it would work for and they are those ones that are trying to be better, but then there would be some that it would just be we would just keep doing what we're doing. Just to get
a certain percentage of them that are turning over anyway, because of my statistics of the evictions that I've shown. There's turnover happening anyway. They're leaving and a new person's moving in. So there was a vision at one time that April, I think you were talking about, there was a vision of giving them some money or buying a trailer, because of that already existing turnover. So that's.
And I'll just say this, I don't feel like just being in every corner of this county for 24 years that we have a houseless problem. I sure as hell don't want to create one.
Yeah.
We don't have people living under bridges along the railroad tracks, I mean, from time to time. But I don't want to get in a situation where we create that.
Yeah, we don't have a housing problem, we definitely have a homeless problem because there's people there that qualify as homeless.
Yeah.
I think we have to
agree
be
with
pretty
that.
thoughtful about how we go through this. It can't be, it's not one solution, it's a series of solutions. But I think that we maybe want to talk about forming a group, a committee that can go ahead and do some more research. Maybe move through this, a group that focuses on this issue. Potentially, maybe something like that. Maybe someone from the different entities that we have in the room, plus maybe some private citizens that might be interested in it. Just a thought, maybe this requires a committee, a commission, not a commission, but a committee of people who really focus in on this and see how we can move through that. Does that make sense?
So it's something that could be next step forward through city council. Try to get a committee put together.
Really look at them and try to scramble about them. I'd like to do it. Got quite a bit going on, so.
Well, you'd have to bring in some, some residents or something that were interested.
I think it would have to be a pretty big variety of folks with interest. Okay. Any other thoughts on this guy?
Not on this, but I was at the chamber meeting the other day. And one of the things that they were talking about was for an attraction for people when they move here is for kids to be able to have 4-H animals. And there's a big, in Arlington, there's a lack of places to keep animals. And so I was thinking, I know that there's a huge interest in people talk about managing there's huge interest in helping kids and managing a facility. If there was a small facility built at the rodeo grounds for kids to be able to keep animals. And then be involved in the fair and be involved in those things, because if people are, if there's going to be projects built here and people are going to move here, they're going to want, we're in the country, we're gonna want our kids to be involved in that sort of thing and be able to have 4-H animals. And
So when we had the feed store in Con, I think they still do that.
in Condon they do, but we have no place in
But
Arlington.
I'm just saying,
I
it
mean,
was a really
Shanna.
nice deal for people that lived in.
Yeah.
town. They go out to the feed store and they have a place to keep their animals, they could buy the feed there, and it was
Mhm.
just a real nice deal.
Well, and I talked to you about, Sherman County and what they just built a really, multi-purpose building that's kind of like a large indoor arena, but they're housing, 4-H animals. They're also doing they had their show ring inside there. They did all of their, 4-H animals, like you have the beef farm, they did it in that building. So, they built kind of a multi-purpose building, and it's pretty nice. It's really nice looking. Bryce Couch is the person that was talking about it in Sherman County. So that might be an avenue to find more information on that. So I think it's a good idea too. I know that, I heard somebody say that this year at the fair, there weren't hardly any, Arlington kids, with animals. That's important.
It is, and I just don't think that they don't have any place to keep them, so nobody even thinks about it.
Yeah.
So just a question then, being
Yeah,
the
ton of rabbits.
Fair board, yeah, fair board. So what is your rodeo, I mean, can your rodeo grounds down here, since your rodeo is the 1st of May? And possession dates for your.
Not till June.
Yeah, it's not till the 1st of June. Is there potential to set up stuff down here for the rodeo grounds to be able to?
Well, I was just thinking, I was thinking like,
Most people have hogs before then.
yeah, like
Oh,
some
Well, the
stalls
first
or
part of
whatever.
May is, the 1st of May is their.
Usually they have the hogs by the 1st of April.
Oh, I
I don't.
No, I thought most of them got them like at the end of May, didn't they?
Did you guys?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I always got,
People don't.
I always got mine the last weekend of April, 1st of May.
well, anyhow, you have potential to actually, get them and then potentially have them at the rodeo grounds after the rodeo is over with.
Yeah,
And is there anything that goes on at the rodeo grounds through till the fair?
no.
Okay. Well, leave you.
Is
up to
that
call
in
it
the,
rodeo.
out of the city limits out there?
Yes.
Is it?
Well, I would call it the urban growth boundary, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of, yeah, it's out there.
So on that note, for the few fair board people in here, but if you guys wanted to try to do something like that, I just got contacted yesterday from the Morrow County Fairgrounds that they livestock commissioners bought all new hog and sheep panels. They're sitting on a bunch of their old ones. And kind of make an offer type deal. I got some pictures if you guys want me to send some.
I'd like to look at it.
But if you guys, that'd be a great place for them to go, because I'm sure they'd love living one soup if you guys, if this did come.
So we have
Quicker.
Warren County leftovers.
Morrow County, they look great in pictures, and I'm sure it was just
Who's that over at Morrow County?
Kyle Robinson.
Oh, yeah, I know Kyle. Okay, yeah. Kyle and Darcy.
Yeah.
That's what I thought for the arena.
Get contact info, you want me to
I think I have it
Okay.
from Little League to, if you want to know the truth. So, yeah.
contact him. 'cause
Okay.
I want him-
Okay. Cause who's the secretary over there? For
Couldn't
the,
tell you. Kyle would know.
it's Sue Gibbs now. I mean,
Not sure.
okay, I know who it is. Never mind.
My territory.
I got it.
You don't have used to work over here?
Huh?
You don't have used to work in Taunton?
No, Sue Gibbs used to teach. Yeah, she's retired. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Kyle.
Anyway, bro,
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to bring to the table. Anything else, guys? I mean, this has
I
been,
just wanted to say one thing that had nothing to do with this, but we had a hazardous spill off of the freeway this year in the end of July, I think it was. Was that, or 1st of August? And I just want to say how nice it was to deal with Jed and Kayla and James and the city of Arlington. It was a shit show, to say the least. With the Swift truck driver and everything that happened. But, 2 weeks, we had the marina shut down, down for the swimming area. But we had to shut the, boat ramp down. James was, I got a hold of Kayla, she had James shut that area down. It was great. Shannon was great to work with. So, City of Arlington was great to work with, and so was the port. So I just want to thank you guys for being there and helping out. And, DEQ was there in 2 days. They were there. We took care of it, and, we got her done, and let's hope to God we never have another Swift truck driver bounce off the guardrail on the bridge.
Was that after our tabletop exercise?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, almost.
Yes, so thank you for, thank you.
So, no
Yeah.
more of those.
Yeah.
We all laughed that it was such an outrageous scenario.
I know.
I know it.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
know.
oh my God.
But yeah.
It
but we
wasn't
got
quite
through
the
it.
same scenario, but.
Yeah. Luckily, it was the week before it got really hot too, so that.
Yeah.
Water.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
So if there isn't any further discussion, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.